Hello, hello. Today I received this big box and I'm going to take a look with you to see what's in it. As you can see, there's a throwing wheel in it. A little bit of information. It's a throwing wheel from Vevor and they reached out to me to ask if I wanted to make a video testing this wheel out and give my honest opinion about this wheel. And they sent it to me for free, so I didn't have to pay for it, but I kind of like pay by making this video and sharing their wheel to my followers, so to you, if you follow. If you don't, subscribe to my channel. But yeah, so they asked me if I wanted to review it and just share my thoughts on it. So I'm also going to talk about the things that I might not like about it, and I'm also going to talk about the things that I do like about it. Interesting to know is that the wheel is quite cheap. It's about 160 euros. So for a wheel, that's really cheap, because normally a wheel costs like 800 to 1500 euros, depending on how professional the wheel is. But 160 euros for a throwing wheel is very cheap. So today I'm going to see if it's worth it to get this wheel and if I would recommend it and in which case I would recommend it. But I'm just going to see what I can do with it, how it works, how I like it, what it looks like. And then I'll just talk about everything that I come up with. So let's just unbox this thing and see what's inside, because I'm quite excited myself as well. Okay, there is the wheel. So this is what it looks like in the box. It just fits into the box, so that's nice, and it is quite well protected with this, like, I don't know what that's called, this white, in Dutch we call it piepschuim, that's around it. But so far it looks really cool. So this looks very shiny and well protected, so we like that. Okay, let me try to take it out. I will just hold the box with my feet and then hopefully, oh, that's going well. Okay, okay. Whoops. This is the pedal for your foot. Okay, this looks great. Underneath the wheel in the box is the splash pan, so that's quite cool. And I like that it's in two pieces, I think, yes. That looks great. The first thing that I noticed is that it's very low. Like, this is my normal wheel and it's quite a bit higher. But this wheel isn't even high enough for me, so I always have some wood underneath it. So with this one I will have to put something underneath the leg so that's standing a little bit higher. But like, that's an easy fix, that's not really a problem. But let's have a closer look together. Whoops! So yeah, let's just get it out of the plastic and let's take a look at it. Like, it does move nicely, I feel like. But yeah, it is like all plastic, so that feels like a little bit more cheap than it would be when it would be metal. But I mean, the wheel is cheap, so that is to be expected, I think. Yes, okay, great. Okay, the wire is quite short, but that's also an easy fix. I am quite happy with the wire that's attached to this one, because that is quite long, so I will be able to just put it next to the wheel when the wheel is standing a little bit higher, so that's great. Let me unwrap this. Okay, when I'm looking at it, it looks quite nice. I like that this is made out of metal, that feels quite strong, like the whole wheel is standing very stable. This thing is also attached very strongly, so it's not like it's already falling apart, so that's nice. What I do notice is that the wheel itself, like here, like the rims are not like finished as nicely as I would have liked it, or as nice as you get it when you buy like a more expensive wheel. You just see where like the different pieces of metal are like melted together or whatever that's called, and it has like some sharper edges here, which makes it look a little bit less professional. That wouldn't really affect how the wheel itself works, but like, of course, if it's like standing in a studio or something, you also want it to look nice. But I do like the color of it. Here I see that it is like turned off and you can turn it forward or in reverse, so the wheel can turn both ways, and I always throw in reverse, it's called, I think, like anti-clockwise. But it's nice that you can do it both ways. I always use the same way, but maybe if you're like left-handed, you might want to do everything like in the other way than normally, maybe. Okay, now let's have a look at the splash pan, because it looks quite nice. Yeah, it is plastic, but that's okay. I think every splash pan is plastic, but it feels very strong, so I don't really feel like I would break it or anything, so that's nice. And it's an easy system that you can take apart, so you can easily like take it off and clean it, which is always nice if you are like working with different sorts of clays at the same time. Or you're just an organized person that often cleans their wheel, which I am unfortunately not. Maybe one day. But it's just an easy click in system, I think. So let's have a look. So you can just click it in, I think. Okay, not yet. Ooh, I'm not sure how to do this. I think you just have to put some more pressure on it, but I'm afraid that I will break it if I put too much pressure on it. I'm not sure, I'm doing something wrong. It's probably not a wheel, but it's just an easy click-in system, but it's not really clicking in so far. You have to press quite hard to get the splash pan like locked into place. And I also found out that if you lock one side, then you can lock the other side, and I thought that would have to like click them in at the same time. But if you just do one side first and then the other side, then it works the best. But it is quite tight, so it's not really easy to get it out. Like you can get it off, but I feel like it's just a little bit too tight. So like I would have to pull very hard to get it into two pieces again. Well, I mean, you can get it off, and probably if you just use it more often, you will get used to how the clicking system works. Now let me see if I can get it at a little bit of a better height, because it's a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe I could sit on the ground while throwing, and then be like, okay, no, let's not do that, but that can be quite fun, but probably not good for my back. For now, I've decided to just use the packaging as a little like table to put it on, because it fits perfectly, and this is quite strong, so you can use that as well, because like it is in the box. Okay, this works for me. Okay, let's plug this thing in and we'll see if it's going to work. I mean, I hope it does. Okay, so it's not in the frame, I'm sorry, otherwise you're very far away, but the foot pedal here is on the ground, and I'm of course just doing that with my feet. And yeah, let's just turn it on. I'm going to put it in reverse, because I think that is how I throw. Do I have to like put the power on by putting this switch up? But let's see if it's yes. That did not sound good. Is there something underneath here? Give me a second. What is this? Okay, there's a box in here. I did not know that. I think that just moved because like the wheel was also moving at the bottom. I feel like there are like some tools in it for the wheel itself, but I'm not sure. There are some trimming tools in here, I think. Wait, I didn't know this. I hope this is supposed to be in here, because otherwise I feel like I stole them, but I didn't. I didn't take them. Okay, so that's interesting, but it has trimming tools in it. I have had these trimming tools before, and I was not a huge fan of them, but you can of course just try them out, especially if you get them for free with the wheel. Can you see it? I will give you a closer look without focusing on my face. Like, it has these trimming tools and they look quite sharp, and the great thing about these is that if they aren't sharp anymore, you can just sharpen them with like a sharpening machine. I don't know what that's called. Now that it's out of the wheel and out of the way, I hope that the wheel stops making weird noises. So here we go. Okay, my first impression, it doesn't make damage noise, as you can hear. Like, what makes most of the noise is the splash pan. That's just, the splash pan moves a little bit, but apart from that, it feels really strong. I am turning it the wrong way, so apparently I'm throwing forwards and not reverse. I thought I threw reverse. I thought reversed was anti-clockwise, but apparently it's not. But the rest, it feels really nice. Like, the wheel itself is centered, so that's of course very important, because if the wheel head itself is like a little bit bumpy, that would not be great. I will now put some pressure on it by just pressing my hands down. Of course you do that with clay, but that way I can just feel how strong it is. We'll see if I can feel it turning slower. Okay, yeah, that is the case. That is what I was afraid of, which I'm not really happy with. Like, if you put pressure on it and press on it, it will start spinning a little bit slower. But like when you're making smaller pieces, like just normal mugs and balls, that wouldn't really be a problem. But I think if you're like making big vases from like 10 kilograms of clay, then it would maybe start becoming a problem, because then there's so much weight on the clay, you're pressing down so hard to center clay, that might not really work on this wheel. So we're now finally going to just try it out. So let me just grab some water and some clay, and then I'll be back and we'll try it out and see what I think about that. As you can see, it does not have two of those little pins that can hold your beds, but I'm actually quite happy that it doesn't have that because my wheel also doesn't have that. And I always like to just use a bed mat from Seam Tools and put a bed on top of that. I will show you that in a bit, but I will first just throw on the wheel itself so that I can feel the wheel a little bit better. I always wet the bed a little bit. Okay. Yeah, the wheel feels very strong, so that is nice. Now it comes to the throwing, which I'm very excited about. Okay, it goes quite well. You can hear that it makes a little bit more noise when I'm putting more pressure on it and when I'm spinning the wheel faster. But I feel like that is okay, it's not making too much noise. And the splash pan, as you can see, just takes up all of the splash or whatever that's called. So that does have a nice height. And it sits quite comfortably like this. Of course, also the whole wheel is lifted, so that is needed in my opinion. Now that I'm throwing, I feel like I would like the wheel to be able to spin a little bit faster. But that's probably just because I'm used to my own wheel and that wheel spins a little bit faster when it's spinning on its fastest. But it's not necessarily needed to be able to throw for it to spin faster. It's also just what you're used to. So I think that in the long run, if you're using this wheel for a longer period of time, that wouldn't really be a problem. But yeah, so far it feels really nice. And as you can see, I can just center the clay. So the wheel itself is also nice and centered. You don't want this part to be wobbly or anything, because otherwise it will become very hard to throw something that is centered. I will now open up the shape and see how that goes. As you can see, it's going really well and I'm not really having any problems with the wheel, so yeah, I think it's a good wheel. It's a little bit different than my own wheel, but I mean that is expected. Okay, so a little review. So far it's going actually really good. So as you can see, I can just throw basically a perfect mug on it. I now just went for an easy shape to focus on the wheel instead of making something difficult. But you can of course throw anything on this wheel that you would like to. Yeah, the top of the wheel is a little bit small, so it's I think it was 25 centimeters, so that's not that big. So if you want to make bigger plates, you wouldn't really be able to do that. But you could also attach a bigger bed on top of it that is wider than the wheel itself. And then you would be able to do that. But as I said, if you put too much pressure on the wheel, it will start throwing a little bit slower. So then it might be a little bit more difficult to make really big things on it. But I feel for mugs and other things, basically everything that you make as a beginner, it would be perfect. So I think it's a great wheel to start with. Okay, let me just cut this off. And I never throw it on the wheel itself, but I always use a bed because it's really difficult to lift it. So I would recommend to also get some beds if you're getting this wheel. But that's okay. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm now going to show you how I like to attach a bed to the wheel, because I think that is quite essential to throwing. You can of course also throw right on the wheel as I just did, but it's just always a struggle to take off the piece. So what I always like to use is this bed mat. It's called a bed mat from Seam Tools. I cut this one in the size of my throwing wheel, but this wheel is a little bit smaller. That isn't really a problem, it will now just hang from the sides, but that's okay. And then here I have a plaster bed. You can also throw on wood or on plastic if you'd like, but I'm just overall a bigger fan of plaster. And then just like that you have like a bed on top of it. I hope that I will stay clean because the bed is almost sticking above the splash pan, but we'll find out. We'll see quick enough. Okay, it's going quite well. Well, I don't really see any difference from using a bed or not using a bed. Okay, so I just finished this other bowl as well and it went, well, quite well. I don't have much to complain about it. So now overall, I'd like to give you some advice on when to buy this wheel or when to not buy this wheel maybe. And yeah, just my thoughts. So overall, it's a great wheel and it's actually working better than I expected, especially for the low price that it is. I think there are mainly like two things that I'm not the happiest about. And that's that when you put more pressure on the wheel, it starts spinning a little bit slower. But that would only cause problems when you're like throwing bigger things, as I said. And also that just the finishing of the wheel itself, it is just not perfect. And they could have just done that a little bit better, unfortunately. Also the splash pan is like it's kind of separate. I would have liked it to be a little bit more stuck, but you can also just do that yourself. But yeah, apart from that, it does work really nice. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with how it works. Like you can throw anything on it, as you can see. I could just make a whole collection on this without having any problems. So for that price, it is great. Now, of course, a more expensive wheel is better and it will just be better in like certain areas. Like it will probably be able to spin a little bit faster. It will be a little bit stronger. So yeah, I think I would buy this if you are a beginner and you want to start learning ceramics at home without having too much expenses. Of course, 160 euros is still quite some money, but compared to the other wheels, it is like really cheap. So I mean, ceramics is not a cheap hobby, so if you don't want to spend too much money on it, then maybe just take a workshop somewhere and then try it out there without having to buy a wheel, a kiln, clay, glazes, all of the tools, all of the materials. But yeah, if you do want to like start learning ceramics yourself, or maybe you have taken some classes and you're like, oh, this is cool, I want to do it more often and just do it on my own and just like put this in the corner of your kitchen or anything, then I think it is a great device and I would definitely start out with this instead of a more expensive wheel. If you are going to buy one of these wheels, please check out the description, because in the description I will have a link to this wheel and I will also have a discount code for you. The link to the wheel in the description will be an affiliate marketing link, which means that if you buy the wheel with that link, I get a small commission out of it, so I would really appreciate it if you, in case you buy it with a link in the description, so that the company knows that I sent you and also so that I get a small commission even though you're still paying the same price. That's like a little thank you from the company to me for promoting this wheel and showing this wheel to you. So that was it for this video. If you're going to buy this wheel or maybe another wheel, I hope you have a lot of fun throwing. If you want to see more videos about throwing, you can subscribe to my channel, because I have a lot of videos about different projects that I've worked on and made on the wheel, but also with hand building. So if you're into ceramics, definitely check out other videos from my channel. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!